Hey, what's up guys? We got another video coming at you. We already released our Daytona race recap, kind of just talking about our whole weekend and how things went. But we wanted to release this full video, just the raw footage of the race. And I'm gonna just kind of talk you through it, let you know kind of what's happening during the race, how I'm, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, kind of who I'm racing against and stuff like that. And so you can kind of actually get an idea of what it feels like to be on track. So yeah, right now I'm actually just making a warm-up lap, and I'm going to come around and get lined up on the grid again. So at this point we had already started the race once and it got red flagged on the first lap, so we had to pull into the pits, wait while they took care of the downed rider, and then they sent us back out for another warm-up lap, and we're getting ready to grid right now. So you can see right here where I'm pulling off of the main racing line down into the pits. We're going to get lined up. Daytona Raceway is unique because the starting line, or the grid, is one where you actually start from pit road, and then as you come back around, we'll be over like on the far right here on the racing line. But we start from pit lane, which is I think Daytona is one of the only racetracks that has that. Normally you start out on the actual racing surface, which makes the turn into turn one different from the start from the rest of the race. So it's something that you just have to kind of deal with. I mean, everybody's doing the same thing. It makes this first corner a little tighter, but it's unique in that aspect. So you can see right now we're getting lined up. So yeah, I actually qualified, I believe it was 7th. So they run 4 on the front row, 3 on the second row. So I'm in the 7th spot. My first, on the first start, I actually get a great jump, but my peg folded up and I had to like find my peg and put it down, and I got, and then on this start, I didn't get as good of a start. I didn't get up with these guys. So, and here I kind of get way out wide and get pushed out a little bit, but it gets crowded on that first corner. You can see our boy Steve already getting squirrely. He doesn't waste any time. He's just all over the place. But so the, kind of the backstory is we're running this race with our backup motor, and we're way underpowered. So I could hang with these guys in the infield where horsepower isn't the biggest thing. It's all about, getting the correct lines and getting the drive out of the corner. But you'll see here when we get out onto the banks with the horsepower difference. Right in front of me right now is Chris Rivas. His bike, I was hanging with him in qualifying with our big motor, but as soon as we get out on the banks, he just walks away from me, and you'll see the very clear difference in horsepower between my bike and his at this point. So we're going out, we're turning out of the infield, out onto the banks for the first time in this race. I actually passed Chris right there. I didn't even remember doing that, but I got around him in that corner. But it doesn't take long for him to come up behind me and go by me, because he's just got way more power. So we're going around NASCAR's turns 1 and 2 onto the backstretch. There goes Chris just walking away from me. I got this thing twisted at 100% throttle right now and giving it all it's got, but I just couldn't hang. Going into the chicane, this was a high-speed chicane. You could actually carry a lot of speed through here. This is a fun corner. You can kind of jump this little curb. It was a little unnerving the first couple of times, but it's really not bad. Back out onto the banks, NASCAR turn 3 and 4. The banks, like going into the race weekend, I had never raced here. The banks were probably more intimidating, just, like thinking about them leading into the weekend. But actually, you really just hold it wide open and just twist the throttle and just tuck down behind the fairing as much as you can. I mean, you're moving, speeds 150 miles an hour as you cross the start-finish line. So, I mean, it's pretty fast stuff, but this turn here, so turn 1 coming off of that, you're cooking. So getting stopped, you're on the brakes. There's Steve getting squirrely again. You see that smoke right there. That's the start of Arnie having some bike issues, the Grand Teton team. You can see him actually pulling off track right there. They had a malfunction of some sort and had to pull off. It was unfortunate for those guys because they had a great season, but that's how their day ended. Here again, I'm keeping with these guys through the infield, and you know, I'm just trying to ride the hell out of this bike right now, trying to keep up with them where I can, where I'm underpowered, and just keep with them. I feel like I really rode really well, especially on the infield, and I kept with these guys as much as I could, but as soon as we pull back out into the open, they just would walk away from me. So yeah, back out into the oval section here again. It's like I get close to trying to get around Chris, but he just opens it up and just leaves me. I mean, I just have no chance right here. He's just walking away. It's kind of sad, really. And Steve's out front of him. Chris will eventually get around Steve as well, because I think he's probably making a few more ponies than Steve as well. This is just a horsepower track. You're just wide open for so long. So backstretch, the chicane or the bus stop or whatever they call it, I don't know. Pretty, and right here you're wide open throttle again, wide open throttle, just giving it everything it's got, back into the bank, just trying to get a good drive around the corner and just go for it. So like I was saying, scariest corner I think is turn 1. Coming around here, come off the banks, you're really moving. He's got it twisted wide open. You're hitting, speeds of 150 miles an hour through here, across the start-finish line. And then, like I was saying before, you got to start getting on the brakes, but you're kind of also leaned over. So you're leaned over and on the brakes, and it's that's probably the most technical part of the track, I think. The infield isn't overly technical. It's a fairly straightforward infield. I don't think it's the most technical track out there. Pretty easy. I mean, you got to hit your markers, but it's definitely a horsepower track for sure. So at this point, I'm trying to settle in. I'm sitting 4th. Gunner on the Trask bike is way out front. Chris Rivas sitting 2nd right there. And then right in front of us in 3rd is Steve Chamberlain. I'm trying to get it within striking distance of Steve at this point, trying to hit my lines on the infield, trying to get up on him, trying to stay close, and just, put in a few laps here, kind of settling into the mid-race, time and getting, just clicking off laps at this point. So yeah, back out into NASCAR turn 1 here, wide open throttle again. Like I said, the banks, and it's funny, on video, the banks don't look that bad. I mean, you're up there. It's pretty high. It's pretty wild. I mean, it was a once in a lifetime. I shouldn't say once in a lifetime, but it's a cool experience to be there. Something I already want to go back and do again. So I'm pretty much hanging with Steve here and trying to figure out, can I get him? Trying to get a podium spot, trying to hang with him. There was times where he would pull away, times where I'd kind of get right back to him. So yeah, spinning around here, the banks, turns 3 and 4, and back onto the front stretch. Here I go high, and I really try and get a good drive, get tucked in behind him and catch a little bit of draft here. Let me see if this is last lap or not. Coming across the start-finish line here. Not last lap yet, but I know at this point of the race, I'm trying to think like, okay, where can I make a pass? And I think at this point, I'm like, okay, I can maybe make a charge off the banks off of turn 4, and catch a draft and maybe make a finish line pass and take the spot from him. So coming around here, I'm trying to just hang with him, see if I can make that happen in the next lap. Kind of got a little bit wide right through there, lost a little bit of time there. This corner here, I don't know what they call it, I can't remember, but it was pretty high speed. You could actually hold it almost pretty much wide open through there. It looked worse coming into it than it actually was. This corner here, there's kind of a big bump in it. It's probably hard to see on camera, but I remember there being a bump there that just kind of really unsettled the suspension. You could go wide around it, but that's the long ways around, so it's always that battle of like, is it faster to just stay inside and hit the bump or go out and around it? So as far as horsepower wise, I mean, I was able to hang with Steve around the banks pretty close, so we must be running, you know, pretty similar motor packages or horsepower setup, because I was, you know, at least being able to stick with him. Where like Chris, I mean, you know, on the infield we'll catch Chris and then he'll pull away from us on the banks. So overall I felt like I really rode this, like for being underpowered, I rode the hell out of the bike and rode really well during the race. I just needed a few more horsepower, and I could have probably been, I really think I probably could have went for second if I had the big motor. Here I'm staying up high. I know I'm going to dive down, try and catch the draft here, and this is where I'm testing out my theory of like, okay, I can catch a draft, get right up on him and make the pass right at the start finish line. I think at this point, you know, I'm thinking I can maybe do that. Maybe I'll save that. So here's a white flag last lap, and that's my plan, is to, you know, make that last minute pass right at the line. So I'm just thinking at this point, I'm just like, just stay close, stay close. I think he makes a bobble right here. Yeah, he makes a big bobble, and I wasn't able to capitalize on it. I probably shouldn't have been as nice as I was right there. I have a bad habit of being a gentleman on the racetrack when I should be a killer. I need to work on that for sure. Here, again, I go way wide, but so did he. And I could have had a chance to make a pass underneath right there, but I kind of didn't take advantage of it, or I missed my marker or whatever. Still, at this point, I'm trying to just hang with him, thinking my chances in NASCAR 3 and 4, get a good drive, catch a draft, and get around him. So trying to hang with him, hanging with him, just trying to wait it out. Because it's really hard to make a pass out on the bank if you know, don't have a bunch of power to you know, just motor around them. So yeah, settle in behind him, rolling around the banks here. This is last lap, just trying to get down low and take the short way around, and I'm just trying to stay close. And at this point I'm thinking like, I'm right with him, just stay right here. GoPro footage, you know, with the fisheye lens, the wide angle lens, makes him look farther away than he really is, but I'm pretty close. But through here, he gets a really good drive out of the chicane right here. He just is on it already, and he's gone. He just gaps me just like a few bike lanes. So like I was right on him coming out of the bank, and then he gaps me right here, and I'm trying to sneak high so that I can kind of use the bank, kind of slingshot down off of it, use it as a kind of a downhill to kind of give me some momentum. I'm just tucked in, and he knows I'm there. He's looking at me. He knows it. He's scared. But that's it. That's all I had. There's the checkered flag. So that was our Daytona race. I mean, and I'm stoked for Steve. He rode really good, especially with how many times he almost ate it out there. I mean, the dude's a wild man, and he just never lets off the throttle either. So hats off to him. I mean, he rode the wheels off that thing, and it's super fun to be able to go out and battle with dudes like these guys, like Chris and Arnie and Steve and some of the other guys in the class. It's a lot of fun. So even though I got fourth, I'm still grinning ear to ear right here. You know, I just raced at Daytona Speedway, and it was a pretty good day, I think. So hope you guys enjoy just kind of getting that raw footage, seeing what it was like behind the bars here. And we hope to bring you some more here in the future with races coming up this year. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate you guys tuning in.